Boycott, Divestiture, Sanctions, known as BDS, which is a global campaign, hundreds of businesses and political academic leaders that are targeting Israel. They want to discredit Israel's claim to legitimacy, isolate her politically, and starve her economically. The tactics are boycott or refuse to purchase Israeli goods. They promote boycotting Israeli companies and companies that contract with the Israeli government. Some of the advocates of this boycott campaign are the national governments of New Zealand, Denmark, Luxembourg, Maldives, the UK's National Union of Teachers, and entertainers such as Pink Floyd's Roger Waters, religious leaders like Archbishop Desmond Tutu, the United Methodist Church, the Presbyterian Church USA, the United Church of Christ, and the World Council of Churches, and various student organizations on left-wing American college campuses, such as the UCLA Student Association. D is for divestiture, or pressing investors to sell their shares in Israeli companies and technology. S is for sanctions, or punishing Israel for public policies which they disagree. The BDS movement began in 2005. BDS proponents claim their campaign is aimed at Israel's alleged mistreatment of Palestinians. But BDS ignores two important truths. First, Israel's presence in the West Bank has occurred from a defensive action against an alliance of surrounding nations that attacked in 1967. No Arab attack and Israel wouldn't be there, and Israel has tried to give the West Bank back in 2000 and in 2008, but the Palestinian leadership rejected and continues to reject this offer because it requires them to recognize Israel's right to exist. Many Arab leaders won't recognize Israel's right to exist because to do so would anger hardline Muslim extremists who believe the land of Israel belongs to their Islamic caliphate. For these Muslim clerics and their followers, there is no recognition of Israel. The PLO charter calls for a total destruction of the Jewish state. The Hamas charter calls for the total obliteration of Israel and the destruction of every Jew in the world. BDS also ignores another truth, that Israel is the one nation in the Middle East that recognizes freedom of the press and the civil rights of all its citizens, especially women. Israel is the only country in the region where women can drive a car, work, vote, and own property. Israel is a beacon of freedom and democracy in a challenging area of the world. More than 2 million Arab Israeli citizens understand that they have more freedom in Israel than in any other surrounding nation, and over 100,000 Arabs in the West Bank work for Israeli companies. In 2015, the RAND Corporation reported that if BDS were to last 10 more years, it could cost Israel as much as $47 billion. Arab employees are the very workers who would be hurt the most by BDS efforts. So the next time you hear about BDS, understand, the goal of BDS is not to protest Israel policies. The real goal of the BDS campaign is to fuel anti-Semitism, undermine Israel's right to self-determination, in short, to delegitimize Israel as a nation. What can you do? Speak out against BDS. Everyone interested in peace should condemn BDS in the strongest terms.